Episode 2, The New Heir to the Throne.
We went up to our room and I helped Millie wash her face and calm down a bit. Now, I want to hear the full story.
We went to the village that was nearest the forest. We wanted to ask the locals for directions, but
Our time, Romania, Cold Village.
excuse me, is this the road to the cold forest?
Nu aveți ce căuta acolo. Plecați.
I guess he doesn't understand us. Let's ask that girl. Hi, do you speak English?
Maybe I shouldn't ask. They don't seem very welcoming. We'll just figure it out on our own. We were driving down a narrow, poorly maintained road. Something suddenly felt off with the car. We've got a flat. Look at this. The tire was pierced by antique nail.
It's tiny and covered with markings. They look like a dragon.
There should be tools and a spare tire in the trunk, but these keys don't work. The rental place must have mixed them up.
Leo was taking forever to fix the tire. I got bored. So I decided to walk around a little, and I found a path that eventually split. Acacias to the left, hazel bushes to the right. I'll go down the path with hazel bushes. I walked past the hazel bushes and some old, huge trees. I kept glancing up at the big, low-hanging branches. And I accidentally stepped right into a ravine. I scratched myself on the bushes when I fell. Ow! And I hit my head on something hard at the bottom. It really hurt, and my vision went dark for a second. I realized I'd landed next to a big rock. There were cracks on the surface, and they formed a pattern. It's the same as the dragon on the nail. And look, there's another one. I got up and moved around, finding more of these weird stones. And then I found this wall, just standing there. It was totally covered in plants, but it was definitely man-made. There's that dragon again. Something suddenly shot past my shoulder, hitting the wall. It was a huge, filthy hand. I turned around right then. The vampire wasn't anything like I've ever seen in a movie. This horrible monster was towering over me. I flattened myself against the wall, found a stick, and hit him in the shoulder as hard as I could. Get off me! I'd grabbed a switch of hazel, and it must have stung like a whip. I don't think it did any real damage. Either way, it was enough to distract the monster, and I dove under his arm and ran. Help me! But he was way faster than me. He caught up in a matter of moments. He jerked my head back and bared his fangs to bite my neck. Help me! My phone had fallen out of my pocket and was ringing in the grass. The monster froze, trying to figure out where the sound was coming from. He picked up the phone and just stared at the screen dully, like an animal. Then his eyes suddenly started to change, like he was becoming more human. But then it stopped ringing, and the screen went dark. The beast turned it over and shook it. He looked up at me with this strange, pleading look. And then he got angry and threw the phone back into the grass, shoved me away, and disappeared into the bushes. My head was spinning, and I felt like I was falling again.
I went to look for Millie and found her in a ravine, unconscious.
We stayed silent for a while. I didn't know what to say or even think of her story.
Why did he let you go? Did the phone frighten him away?
I don't think so. The call attracted his attention, but it clearly didn't scare him. Now, the screen. Laya was calling, so her picture was on the screen. I think he recognized her.
But how on earth would some monster in a forest know me? And this whole story, Leo didn't see the vampire, right?
Or the patterns on the stones for that matter.
Yeah, the patterns. I wanted to show them to Leo, but they disappeared.
Sweetie, what if it was just your imagination? You read about vampires all the time, and you said you hit your head? Things like this happen.
I don't know.
She burst into tears. I hugged her. Let's go to sleep. It's way past midnight. We'll figure this out tomorrow. Leo went to his room, and I cuddled up next to Millie, who was too scared to sleep in her own bed. I didn't sleep well that night, and by dawn, I'd given up on getting any more rest, so I took the paintings out to the balcony. The city was still asleep, the air was fresh, and the sun was slowly rising. I spread Hassan's portrait on the table, pulled out a brush from my restoration bag, and started cleaning off lime.
Awake already? You've got the right idea. It would be a shame to sleep through this beautiful sunrise.
Leo grabbed the railing and jumped over to my balcony in one swift movement. Are you up for the sunrise too?
I didn't go to sleep at all. Yesterday, I went into my room, and Nosferatu was gone again. I don't even know how he slipped away. All the doors were closed. I spent the whole night looking for him, and when I came back empty-handed, there he was, sound asleep on a pillow.
What if he never left in the first place?
I thought so too, but then I noticed he had scratches and dirt all over him. I guess he was exploring some bushes, whatever. He came back, that's what matters. You know it's chilly to be dressed like that. Hang on, I'll get you something.
He disappeared into the dark room only to return in a minute, draping a blanket around my shoulders. Leo, this is very sweet, but I'm not your sister. I don't want you to view me as a little sister. I blurted out what was bothering me and regretted it immediately. Leo smirked, and a mischievous twinkle appeared in his eyes.
How would you like me to view you?
As a grown-up lady. He leaned close to my ear, warming it with his breath, and whispered.
Like my girlfriend?
I felt my cheeks go red, and my fingers trembled. Damn it, here we go again. Why do I get so flustered around him? He's just a guy. I tried to collect myself and play it off. All right, enough joking around. I'm working here.
Actually, I wasn't joking. Could you show me what you're working on? Who's that? Some guy from the 14th century? He looks familiar.
The 15th, actually.
Do you know something about him? It looks like he was a noble.
I really wanted to tell him what I had seen in the past, to share my theories and concerns. But should I trust a man I've known for less than 2 days? Would he even believe me? I'll tell him exactly what happened. Leo, yesterday this painting pulled me into the past, into the Ottoman Empire during the 15th century.
What?
The sun rose above the horizon and painted the skies with an incredible mixture of color and light. I told Leo everything I had seen. Lala, Aslan, the death of the Empire's last heir. Leo became pensive and seemed troubled. Something was obviously on his mind, but he didn't say a word. I know, it sounds ridiculous, and I don't even know what to think.
Still, you told me about it.
Leo appreciated your trust.
That all happened in the past, right? So we can compare what you saw with the actual history.
Leo unlocked his phone and typed something in.
It all checks out. Sultan Murad, 3 dead sons. The last was named Hassan.
I didn't know that before, I swear. Who was the next sultan?
The 4th son of Murad II, Mehmed.
There was no 4th son. Maybe Mehmed was born later?
No, in 1430. He must have been one of your Lali's peers.
An unknown heir. That's weird for the Ottomans. The sultans accepted all of their sons regardless of who the mother was. I guess everything I saw was just a hallucination. Leo approached me, placed his hands on my shoulders, and looked into my eyes.
It's a good thing I found you,
Why?
because you're amazing. Why don't we go out and have breakfast? You still haven't spent time in the city.
I'd love to. I didn't even have dinner or lunch yesterday. I knew my sister liked sleeping in, so I didn't wake her up and left a note instead. The cafe had just opened, and there weren't many customers yet. We sat at a table outside to enjoy the city's atmosphere. It's been a while since I've had a lazy breakfast at a cafe. Too busy with my work. What do you do for a living?
I handle security logistics for people and companies. I've got an agency. Oh, and also sports.
A waiter brought my order. It looked delicious. I ordered bacon and eggs, something hearty. We were enjoying breakfast and chatting. The sun rose higher, and it was getting very warm where Leo was sitting. Leo, sit next to me. There's still some shade here. Leo moved to my side, sitting very close. I touched his cheek. I think your face is already tanning a little. Can you feel it?
Yeah.
Your relationship with Leo improved.
He caught my hand and pressed it against his cheek. His light stubble tickled my fingers. Remove my hand. I smiled and freed my hand. You're prickly.
Only on the outside. I'm soft and fluffy at heart.
Suddenly, he hugged my waist and pulled me close.
The passion, the expression, amazing.
An unkempt man wielding a camera had appeared seemingly from nowhere. Leo and I moved away from each other hastily.
What a perfect couple. You'll be the centerpiece of my brochure. This is my lucky day.
We didn't agree to be photographed.
Oh, you'll change your mind once you see the pictures. Let's exchange information. I'll show you the final versions, and then you can decide.
All right. At least we'll be able to have a say about the photos.
We gave our phone numbers to the photographer and left the cafe. Walking back to the hotel, I noticed an art supply shop. I want to buy something for my work. Do you mind waiting? Leo nodded and began looking at a rack of magazines, but then his phone rang.
Yes. No. No way. Look. All right. Wait for me.
Something happened.
Nothing major. But I need to leave now, sorry. I've got an important work meeting. I'll call you a taxi.
Are you kidding me? The hotel is 15 minutes away. I'll walk. Leo left, and I wandered the aisle slowly, picking out the things I needed. The door creaked, and someone walked in. I stared at him, trying to remember who he reminded me of.
Miss Burnell, sorry for approaching you here. I won't take much of your time.
His tone was dry and businesslike, yet somewhat cocky. He was sitting next to us at the cafe. Are you following me? Who are you?
I'll give you a hint. Yesterday, you took something before I got the chance to. It was very unfortunate.
Only for you, I suppose.
We can work something out. I'll offer you a very decent sum to straighten out this misunderstanding.
Tell Mr. Bloom I'm not interested. Goodbye. He tried to say something else, but I wouldn't listen. I paid for my purchases and left. I walked the narrow, empty street and glanced around, worried he'd follow me. But there was no one there, and I quickly calmed down. Great, I can slow back down. I took my time gazing at the buildings and the plaques on them. Suddenly, shuffling uneven footfalls reached my ears.
Wait a minute.
The stranger caught up to me and grabbed my wrist tightly. That hurts. Let me go. What do you want?
It's about the paintings, honey. We can do this the nice way, or...
I jerked my hand free, but he grabbed me from behind and covered my mouth with his hand. From a side street, a woman rushed toward us. She hit him and then twisted his arms behind his back, tripping him to the ground. Breathing heavily, I slumped against a wall and realized I knew her.
What do you want from her, you jerk? Speak up!
She pushed on his back with her knee and twisted his arm harder.
Ah! She has our paintings.
I already told your partner I'm not selling the pictures to Bloom.
What partner? I'm the only one working for Bloom in this country. Let me go. I won't hurt her. I just wanted to scare her.
Alexandra loosened her grip, looked at me, and finally recognized me.
Oh, you're that little miss from yesterday. What are the odds? It seems we've met at the perfect time again.
Alexandra remembered you fondly.
Right? I was glad to see her again, and not because of her help.
Look, girls, this is very sweet, but I have a job to do. My boss is willing to pay you a huge sum for those paintings, honey. I don't know why he wants them so badly.
Another person was making the same offer 10 minutes ago. Are you really not working together?
I swear. Old man Bloom doesn't have anyone else here. And I don't do art. This is a one-time thing.
I can't sell the paintings. Vincent owns them. Talk to him.
No, I get it. He won't give them to us. We were hoping you would. Well, here's the number. Call if you change your mind.
The man walked away, leaving the two of us alone. Alexandra, thank you for helping.
Oh, don't use my full name. My father was the only one who used it, and only when he was angry. It's just Sandra. Where were you heading?
To my hotel. It's just around the corner.
I'll walk with you. You seem to be popular.
While we were walking, I told Sandra about myself, where I'd come from, and why I was here. We were back at the hotel before I knew it, and I realized I didn't want to say goodbye to her.
So, you're a tourist and I'm a local. It's only right that I show some hospitality. You should come out with me tonight. I know a fun place.
I'll be there. It'll be nice to relax and have fun. I can't pass up an opportunity to spend some time with the locals. But I won't be alone. I've got my sister with me. And Leo, we just met him yesterday. He's a cool guy. Sandra's expression darkened for a moment, but she immediately smiled.
Sure, bring them both along.
She was telling me the address when a very beautiful woman exited the hotel. Her hips swayed gracefully with each step she took. Her presence was commanding, and both Sandra and I stared at her, awestruck. She stopped near me and shot me a curious look. Then she walked over to a fancy car, took a seat in the back, and drove away. Are you up? How are you feeling?
I'm fine. I think. But how about we stay in today and do nothing? Can we do that on vacation?
Sure. Let's order some food and watch something. Millie was clearly still recuperating from yesterday's events. She fell asleep after a few episodes of our favorite show. And meanwhile, I can work on that portrait now that I've got the tools to clean it up. I was almost done when the world began to blur before my eyes. But my head wasn't aching this time. It felt nice, like I was returning home.
(1444) Ottoman Empire. Palace School.
Lale Hatuna. So what's your answer?
Lael snapped out of her thoughts and looked at the teacher.
I'm sorry. I didn't hear the question.
She heard a giggle behind her.
Hoja Mustafa, be patient. A girl's mind is not as sharp as a man's. It is our purpose to merely adorn the world of noblemen, including these lessons.
Don't judge others by the standards you set for yourself, Nuray Hatun. My lesson is over. Prepare for your next one.
Hoja Mustafa approached Lala and spoke to her, as the other students were gathering their belongings and leaving.
Lale Hatun, I understand, believe me. I miss Shehzade Hassan very much too. But do you know how hard it was to make it so that you and Nuray Hatun would be allowed to study in this school? You're the pioneers, and it's up to you to open this path for other girls. So far, most of the parents are against it. Soon, we'll be holding a science contest for the students. I want to present you as an example of this method's success. But for that, you must collect yourself and work hard.
I'm willing to learn.
The teacher will be counting on you.
I'll do my best not to fail you. I'll study hard.
The next lesson was painting, Lala's favorite subject. The other students didn't share her interest. They were talking quietly and ignoring the teacher, a young Greek named Dimitris.
Aslan, my brush fell. Can you get it for me?
Here.
Several servants entered the courtyard carrying chests and trunks that appeared to hold someone's belongings. Then, Hoja Mustafa arrived with two boys, one of whom seemed to be a bit older than Lale. The other looked no more than 7 years old.
Take it all upstairs. There are 2 spare rooms at the end of the hallway.
The teacher sent the younger boy away with the servants and led the older one toward the class.
My dear students, allow me to introduce our school's newest pupil, Vlad Basarab Dracula, son of Walachia's ruler. As you know, it's a tradition that rulers subjugated by the Ottoman Empire send their sons to the Sultan's court for several years. Sultan Murad is so wise and generous that he accepts these young men, allowing them to study alongside the children of the Ottomans.
Aslan leaned close to Layla and whispered,
That's right, so that later when they become rulers of their own principalities, they're as loyal to him as to their own father. Wise indeed.
Well then, young Vlad will join you later. For now, I'll help him and his brother settle in.
The newcomer's gaze was that of a hunted wolf. Sadness, hatred, and pain shone in his eyes.
The way he's looking at us, it frightens me.
He was torn from his family and sent to spend a few years with the people who subjugated his homeland. I'd stare like that too, if I were him.
The class was dismissed, and the students dispersed. Layla was the only one who got so carried away with her art that she didn't notice anything around here.
Lale Hatun, may I see your progress?
The teacher came closer to hear. Layla tried to cover the canvas with her hands, but it was too late.
Lale Hatun, are you painting a man? Is that Shehzade Hassan?
He looked around nervously and quickly draped a cloth over the canvas.
Hoya Dimitris, I didn't mean to. But he's bursting out from my soul. I can't not draw him.
The teacher studied her face for a moment and then spoke, almost whispering.
This is a sign of a true artist. It's how all the masterpieces are created. But you know the laws of your land and the punishment for breaking them.
Have you ever painted people?
A long time ago, back in my homeland. It isn't forbidden there, but I must destroy this for the sake of your life.
He took the painting and turned to leave.
Persuade him to give it back. Please, Hoja Dimitris. I'll be very careful. No one will find out. And even if you take that canvas now, I can paint another. Then what?
The teacher looked around one more time and reluctantly returned the canvas.
Please, just find a place where no one will see you.
Lael ran through the garden along paths that only she knew, and soon reached a small summer house. Lael approached her hideout, slipped inside, and quickly returned without the painting. When she heard muffled voices approaching, she slipped into the bushes. A girl in a lavish outfit and a man wearing a simple Janissary uniform stood on the path.
Janissary, the infantry of the Ottoman Empire.
That's Safi, daughter of the Grand Vizier Khalil Pasha. But who's the man with her?
But, Demet, people say the owner of this place was rubbing shoulders with evil spirits and then died a horrible death.
Grand Vizier, the Sultan's chief minister and advisor.
We need to be afraid of people, not evil spirits. No one dares to come here.
The man stroked Safi's hair. An airborne bit of fluff landed on Lale's nose, tickling it. She couldn't hold in her sneeze. Safi yelped and hid behind her suitor, lamenting.
Now father will find out and he'll send me away, but the things he'll do to you?
Safi sobbed bitterly, and the man pulled her close to console her.
Please calm down, Safi Hatun. I wouldn't say anything to your father.
Safi looked at Lale incredulously.
Really? But why? Why would you cover up for us?
Because I have no reason to turn you in. Also, then you won't tell anyone that I come here too.
What do you do here, Lale Hatun?
I just hide when I'm tired of everyone. I've got to go. Don't worry, Safi Hatun. I won't tell anyone about this.
Lale left the garden and noticed a commotion on the terrace in front of the palace. Two Bostanjis were dragging a dog by its leash as it howled and dragged its paws on the ground.
Hassan's dog.
Lale rushed toward them, but someone outran her. The newcomer from her classroom approached the Bostanjis.
You shouldn't try to handle animals if you don't know what you're doing. Where are you taking it?
Who are you, kid? Stay out of our way.
I'm just trying to help.
He crouched down to pet the hound. She looked up at him with wide, hopeful eyes.
This dog belonged to the late Shehzada Hassan. He used to keep her in his private quarters, but we're taking her to the kennels.
Wait, on whose order?
Vlad turned to look at her, and the Bostanjis bent low before her.
Lala Hatun. There's no one else to take care of her, so...
I see. I will take her. If there's no one to take care of her, I will. There's 100 dogs in the kennels, and not all of them are friendly. It would be a horrible place for a dog who's used to being a companion.
The man stared at her in shock, but failing to find any objections, he handed the leash to her. Lale unbuckled her collar, and the dog jumped and wagged her tail excitedly. The guardsman left, and Lale wandered back to the garden in confusion, considering what she should do next. The newcomer caught up to her.
Lala Hatun, what are you going to do with your pet? That was a very noble impulse.
Vlad liked that you stood up for the dog.
But I can't imagine that you live alone.
I live with my chaperone. She's a kind woman, and I'm sure she'll understand. It will just take some time to warm her up to it. For now, I'll hide her.
She isn't a trinket. You can't hide her in the bushes.
Lale felt a prickle of irritation at his comment.
What does he want? I don't know what to do. I don't need him pointing that out. Hold on. Did he say the bushes? That's right. I'll take her to the house in the garden.
Lale hoped Vlad would leave, but he kept pace alongside her.
You must be very busy. I don't want to distract you.
I'm not busy at all. My classes start tomorrow and no one cares what I do the rest of the time.
That's not true. Uncle Murad is...
Oh, so I have the honor of talking with the Sultan's niece? How unexpected, Your Highness.
Why is he using that mocking tone with me? He's a captive, yet he's so insolent.
They walked in silence for some time. Lale cast a few glances at him.
Noble features, fair skin, and eyes the color of the sky. There's something charismatic about him. Do all Wallachians speak Turkish so well?
Did you think it's a country of ignorant barbarians? It's normal for an educated person to know several languages. And since your wonderful uncle invaded my country and filled it with his soldiers, many Wallachian people know Turkish.
His expression darkened. Lael felt increasingly uncomfortable and decided to change the subject.
You stood up for the dog, too. Do you like animals?
I do. And she and I are alike in some ways. Who was her master and what's her name?
She belonged to my cousin, but I don't know her name.
That means you can name her now. Any ideas?
I think I'll call her Guselik.
Yes, it suits her.
They approached the bushes where the garden house was hidden. Lael hesitated. She didn't want to reveal her hideout. Suddenly, Guselik rushed forward, barking happily. Vlad ran after her, and Lael had to follow them.
Guselik, come back. Don't...
It was too late. The hound led them to the clearing in front of the house.
Whoa, does someone live here?
No. The owner is long dead. It's empty.
It's a great place to hide Guselik for now. Were you taking her here?
Yes, but please, don't tell anyone.
Don't worry.
They led the dog to the inner yard. Lael made her a bed in the shade and left her a dish filled with rainwater.
Behave well, darling. I'll come get you from here tomorrow.
The hound clearly liked the new place. She lay down on the bedding, content. Lael and Vlad closed the gate and walked back into the garden. Lael didn't notice as the pathway led them to the part of the garden where the mosque stood. According to tradition, the turbi was next to it.
Turbi, an ancestral tomb for a sultan and their family.
Lael came to a stop. She realized that somewhere, very near to where she stood, Hassan's body lay.
I want to go inside. I need to visit a loved one.
I can come with you if you'd like.
I would.
They walked under the stone arch. It was cold inside. In the center of the turbi, there was a coffin with an ornate cover. Lali stood by it quietly. It had been a month since Hassan's death, but the wound in her heart was just as fresh as it had been on the first day. She had no idea how to fill the gaping hole that dwelt inside her. Lael wept bitterly.
I miss him so much. He was a good person. He was the heir, but he wanted to study in the school along with the others. He was always kind to everyone. And he died because he went looking for his dog in a thunderstorm.
I didn't think I'd ever say this about an Ottoman, but I'm sorry he died.
Vlad sympathized with you.
Vlad moved closer and touched Lael's shoulder gently. She flinched. She wanted him to take her in his arms and shield her from the pain. But he remained motionless, so she stepped toward him, put her hands on his shoulders, and buried her face in his chest. He didn't lift his arms to hold her. He simply stood before her. Lael peered up at his face. It looked like a pale mask in the darkness of the turbi. Only his eyes, his ethereal blue eyes, were alive, burning in the dim light. Beginning to feel awkward, Lael pulled back and approached the coffin again.
I keep asking myself, why him? Why Hassan?
I also keep asking myself this question. The most horrible thing is that I know the answer.
Lael turned around, bewildered. There, at the entrance to the tomb, stood
Uncle Murad. My respects, Padishah.
I'm glad I met you here. That you came to remember Hassan.
The Sultan appreciated you visiting Hassan.
The Sultan noticed Vlad standing silently by a wall in the darkness.
Ah, it's you, my young friend. See, you're already making friends here. You're keeping company with the Padishah's niece. You're not locked in a cage, not starved. You'll soon understand that the Ottomans are not your enemies. Go, children. I want to be alone with my son. Lael, come to my quarters in the evening. I'll send a servant for you.
Vlad and Lal said their goodbyes and left the Turbi. Lael returned to the palace and impatiently waited for evening to come.
Uncle Murad only summons me very rarely. What does he want to talk about?
Finally, at around 8 o'clock, a servant came to escort her to the Sultan's quarters.
I'm glad to see you, darling. How are you?
Lael bowed and recited the platitudes that courtesy required.
Never mind those formalities. Do you miss Hassan? You went to see him in the Turbi. That says a lot.
The Sultan paced up and down the hall, his face tense.
Hassan was a very radiant boy, just like your mother. Alas, radiant people leave my life. 3 sons. My 3 sons have perished. I'm the one to blame.
He stopped and looked at his niece with pained eyes. Lael was crumpling at the hem of her dress, frightened she'd never seen the strong, unflinching man like this before.
I need to say something, but I should find the right words. You are not to blame. No one is. Especially not you. It's fate, God's will.
Alas, my kind girl. It is not God's will. It's a curse.
You found the right words.
I'm paying for my mistake with the death of his innocent soul.
The Sultan tugged at his collar as if it was hard for him to breathe. It looked like he wanted to say something but couldn't. They spent several painfully long moments in silence.
Hassan wanted you to become his wife.
But how do you know?
The Sultan felt for something in his pockets and soon brought out a small box.
Before he died, he commissioned this piece from my best jeweler. Your name is engraved on it. He wanted you to wear it. It's not a mere trinket. Sultans give jewelry like this to their betrothed.
But
You never got to become his fiancée, but it's still yours. Take it and wear it. You are so beautiful.
The Sultan respected you enough to give you the jewelry.
Lael was relieved by this improvement in the Sultan's mood. The Bustanjis guarding the Sultan's chambers walked in and bowed.
Padishah, Shehzade Mehmed is here.
The Sultan's face changed. He forced a smile and nodded to the guard.
Let him in, Lyle. Do you remember your cousin Mehmed? You were both 5 years old when...
He hesitated. The door opened, and a young man stepped into the hall.
Greetings, Father. It's been so long since we've seen each other.
Lael found herself so astonished she couldn't utter a word.
A cousin? Mehmed? He has another son? But why has no one ever mentioned him?
Mehmed turned to look at her. There was something very unpleasant in his eyes.
This is your cousin Lale. You may not remember each other, but you used to play together when you were kids.
Lael focused inward, trying to recall this missing memory. Then a scene flashed before her eyes.
I was a little girl, afraid. There was the racing track and horses. People were kneeling over someone lying in the sand. Hassan? No, that's not Hassan. It's a boy who's about 5 years old. Mehmed.
Her head spun and Lael blacked out.
I don't want to sleep. Right. You're sleeping more than I am.
What time is it?
Time to go to bed.
It was dark outside. Millie laughed.
So much for sightseeing. We slept all day. What are we going to do tonight?
Oh, I promised Sandra. She invited me to a local hangout.
When did you manage to find a new friend? Can I come?
Sure. And we'll bring Leo. Can you fetch him? I need to clean up. Millie ran away and soon returned with Leo. Leo walked straight to me and offered his arm.
You have a good relationship with Leo.
My fair lady, I'm ready to accompany you.
We pushed through a cheerful young crowd and entered a large, noisy hall. Music was blaring, some people danced to it, others sat at their booths.
Ooh, you're here? Yes, let's go to our table.
There were several people already there. I introduced my companions to the table and Sandra introduced hers. It was a relaxed, enjoyable vibe, as if we were visiting old friends, great food, drinks, and light conversations with good people. Leo was by my side all night, behaving like we'd been a couple for years. When he stepped out, Sandra moved closer to me.
So what's between you and the handsome guy?
I think it's too early to tell. I like him, but how much can you really know someone after 2 days?
I depends.
She looked at me with more openness than I was used to from friends.
Why don't we go outside for a moment? It's getting stuffy in here.
Sure, let's go. Millie, are you coming? My sister was engrossed in a conversation with one of Sandra's friends, so she just waved us off.
Nah, go ahead.
It was busy outside. Couples and groups were standing nearby. The summer night was so warm and the air was so fresh that we didn't feel like going back in.
Let's go for a walk. There's a small park nearby. We can sit down there.
I'd love to.
And here's a nice bench.
We sat down. Sandra moved closer, touched my pinky finger with hers, and traced it up and down gently. I'm enjoying this. I turned to her and ran my fingertips up her arm, from her palm to her elbow to her shoulder. She touched my hair, tucking a wisp behind my ear softly. Her fingers tickled my neck. I shivered slightly at her touch.
Your relationship with Sandra improved.
I suddenly noticed Sandra's eyes going wide. Did I do something wrong? Why is she staring? But she wasn't looking at me. She was looking behind me. I turned around. A short distance away, a couple emerged from the bushes. The woman was laughing, her arms draped around the guy's neck. It was the beautiful woman we'd seen outside the hotel that morning. And the guy with her was Leo. I jumped up from the bench. This woman, she must have been at his hotel room this morning. His work meeting. Sandra. Let's get out of here. I sprang to my feet. Sandra hesitated. Please, now. But Leo had already noticed me.
Laya, where are you going?
I grabbed Sandra by her hand and practically dragged her along.
Laya, look, maybe we should have talked and cleared things up.
I trusted him. I thought he was a nice, honest guy. I can't believe him. Let's just leave now.
All right, I'll go fetch Millie.
I felt completely drained as I asked the driver to take us to the hotel.
I don't get it. What happened? I was having so much fun, and bam, we're leaving. And where'd Leo go?
I just don't feel very good. and Leo, he had some business. Sandra, I'm sorry I ruined the evening.
That's all right. There will be other evenings. We'll talk tomorrow. Get some rest.
Sandra left, and Millie and I went upstairs to our room.
Maybe we left just in time, running away like Cinderella. It's romantic. All right, I'm going to bed.
My sister went to her room, and I flopped onto my bed, unable to bring myself to undress. Why? What's between him and that woman? The saddest thoughts rolled through my head. I couldn't fall asleep. I'll go down to the hotel bar and have a drink. I looked into the mirror, fixed my runny mascara, and went down. The bar was pretty crowded. I walked up to the counter, ordered a cocktail, and looked around, people watching. One man seemed a little familiar from behind. His companion was facing me and also reminded me of someone. The guy from the art supply shop. He noticed me too and said something to his companion, who turned around. Vincent?
Laya?
My boss, who was in the USA just yesterday, is sitting in a Romanian hotel bar with the guy who tried to buy the paintings from me.
Ma belle amie, sit with us, darling. Fancy running into you here.
He beamed, hugged my shoulders, and sat me down at their booth. I eyed his companion. Vincent, this is...
our Romanian colleague, John. And yes, I know he offered to buy the paintings.
My brain refused to accept this strange new wave of information. I stared. Vincent hesitated.
Tu sais, Laya? Everyone looks nice in our field. But there are so many crooks, so many dishonest people. I was worried Blum would find you and repurpose the paintings, so I asked Gion here to get ahead of him.
Wait, so you sent him to test me? To see if I'd agree to sell them to your business rival?
Generally speaking, yes. And you have no idea how glad I am that you told him no. I've always believed in you, my girl.
Yeah, clearly. You know what, Vincent? This hurts. I interrupted my vacation, left my sister on her own, and went to collect those paintings. And you...
Come on, I've been betrayed so many times. How am I supposed to trust people?
Vincent made a show of rolling his eyes and putting on a martyr's air.
And you may have refused to sell them today, but what if you change your mind tomorrow?
How dare you?
I own those paintings. I paid for them. You should be grateful you get to touch such rare things at my expense.
Tears welled up in my eyes. I'd already been through too much today. I felt like throwing the canvases at his face, but my heart clenched at the thought of losing them forever. I'll never go to the past again and never solve this mystery.
Mr. Vincent, are you willing to sell those paintings?
The three of us turned around and I was stupefied.
Is there a sum you're willing to sell them to me for? I'll pay anything. Just name your price.
Vincent looked confused, but his eyes lit up greedily. After taking in the man's dignified appearance, Vincent took a napkin and wrote a number on it. The number of zeros left me stunned.
There, and they're all yours.
All right, I'm prepared to pay right away. There is one condition, though. We'll put the paintings in Miss Burnell's name. They will belong to her.